Okay, so again, what we're learning in this lesson is how to add, subtract, and multiply polynomials here, finding the sum, the difference, and the product. And specifically, this video is going to concentrate on adding and subtracting polynomials. And it's a piece of cake, as long as you understand this. You understand like terms. What are like terms? What does it mean whenever I am simplifying an expression and I have to combine like terms? Well, like terms are the ones that have the same variable raised to the same power, right? To add and subtract like terms, all you do is add or subtract the coefficients, okay? So to be like terms, the coefficients don't have to match. It's just the variable has to be the same and the power has to be the same, okay? And then whenever I add them, and you will see whenever I subtract them as well, you just add or subtract the coefficients. You do not change the powers at all when you're adding or subtracting, okay? So, for example, whenever I go to simplify this, I know that x squared and 5x squared, those things are like terms because they both have an x squared term with it, okay? Whenever I were going to add those things together, I'd have a 1 plus 5 of them, I have a total of 6x squareds, right? It's pretty simple. The powers, again, they do not change. Powers do not change whenever I'm combining like terms, adding or subtracting. That'll be different when I multiply, but right now, for adding and subtracting, the powers are not going to change. Okay, so here's another set here. The 2x cubed is a like term with a negative 4x cubed, right? And if I were going to add those two together, I just combine the coefficients, 2 minus the 4, it's a negative 2. Okay, so let's add these things in what I call a horizontal format. Horizontal just means it's just in a line going across your page right here, okay? We'll see it in a vertical format in just a second. Okay, so my suggestion is whenever you're adding these things, it might be helpful, at least for your eyeball, to see these things, to underline like terms, the same number of underlines, or you put some sort of symbol, boxes, circles, whatever. Okay, so that's what the hint is here. So for example, the 4x cubed, it is a like term with the negative 5x cubed. I underline them both once, and I just combine them by adding up the coefficients. 4 minus 5, I get a negative x cubed. Again, the power doesn't change on that. Okay, the next ones that I'm going to combine up are the 4x squared and the negative 2x squared. So those are like terms. So I have 4 of them. I take away 2 of them. I have 2 of them left. The 3x, the negative 3x, is a like term with the negative 4x. Adding those things together, I get a negative 7x. And then finally, the constants, I have a 10 and a negative 4. Positive 6 is the answer. So there it is in simplest form. You can't do anything else with it. Okay? These are not equations. We are not solving them. We are just combining like terms. Okay? There's no equal sign here. We're not trying to get anything on one side. We are just simplifying. Okay, so here it is in a vertical format. You remember whenever you were first learning to add up, say, 3-digit numbers, you stack them on top of each other, right? So you could do the same thing the old-fashioned way. Just stack these things up so you line up your like terms. And then you just add, just like you normally would, the old-fashioned way. We can start from the left-hand side or the right-hand side. Traditionally, when it's just 3-digit numbers that you're adding together, you start on the right-hand side, right? So when you carry a 1. But here we're not ever carrying any 1s. So we can start on the left-hand side. And just add up your columns. Keep the variables the same and just add up the columns, right? Piece of cake. So now there it is. And I don't care whenever you go to add yours, either on your assignment or on your quiz. I don't care if you like to use a vertical one or a horizontal, as long as you're getting the right answer. Okay. So the next thing is distributive property. I want to talk about the distributive property just a little bit because whenever you subtract polynomials, you're always distributing a negative. Basically what you do is you turn a subtraction into adding a negative. You turn it into an addition problem. So the distributive property just means, of course, whatever is out front, you're going to multiply it times everything that's inside the parentheses. So whenever it is a negative sign, it's as if I have a negative 1 that I'm distributing through. I change all of the signs, right? So I just simply change all of the signs. So a negative 3x cubed, a positive 4x squared, a positive x, and a positive 7. Okay, so again, I'm going to take a subtraction problem and turn it into an addition by just adding a negative. distributing the negative through. So for example, subtract 6x squared minus 6y squared minus 13 from 3y squared minus 4y plus 7 in a horizontal format. So horizontal means I'm just doing it straight across. Now, here's the thing. Which one of these is going to come first? Well, since this says from, that means the 3y squared is the first one. And then I'm subtracting the other one from it. Okay? So it should look like this. Whenever I go to perform this subtraction, I'm going to turn it into an addition problem by distributing that negative through. Okay? So when I distribute that negative through, that makes this a negative 6y squared. It makes it a positive 6y and a negative times a negative positive 13. Now just combine like terms like we were doing before. 3y squared combines up with a negative 6y squared and make negative 3y squared. Negative 4y combines up with the 6y, and I get a positive 2 of them. And then finally, the 7 combines up with the 13, I get positive 20. So there it is, a subtraction problem. Okay. Okay. How about in a vertical format? So if I'm going to do this in a vertical format, again, look at the word from. That means that this negative 4x cubed is the second one. Okay, I'm going to write this one on top and this one on the bottom. So this is what the problem should look like. So you still do it just like I did before. I'm going to distribute that negative sign through and turn it into an addition problem. Okay, so the top line stays exactly the same, but I'm going to turn it into an addition problem by just distributing a negative through here, changing all the signs. Now, add up the columns like we did on the vertical format before. So I have 7x cubes, I have a negative 2x squareds, I have a negative 2x, and then positive 15 as my answer. Okay? So, again, you're basically turning a subtraction problem into an addition by adding the opposite, adding a negative. Okay, so here's a time for you to pause the video. Just practice that on these two polynomials. I'm adding something and I'm subtracting something. Okay, so that should have been pretty simple, right? So let's check our answers here. For the first one, combining our like terms, I should get 6t squared minus 7t minus 6. And just reviewing some vocabulary here. Highest power, the degree is 2, which means this is quadratic. It is a quadratic polynomial. Its leading coefficient is 6, and its constant term is negative 6. Okay? All right. I decided to do the second one as like in a vertical format. Whatever. You didn't have to. But I chose to, so I get 8d cubed plus 13d squared plus 8d plus 1. This one, the degree is 3, which makes it a cubic polynomial. Its leading coefficient is 8, and its constant term is a 1. Okay, so that's it on adding and subtracting polynomials. The next one will be about multiplying.